since we played in front of a crowd. I think finally we made it by good improvements, and we're playing super well together, and we have a good chance to take this tournament. In front of a crowd, everyone plays a lot better, having the hype around us, so we're looking forward to play it.
So guys, I know we haven't been playing that well in group stage, but this is playoffs, this is going to be amazing, and I need you to make a lot of noise because this is going to be insane.
It's getting closer and closer to match time. Players and indeed the crowd starting to take back to their seats. Now, we got here through a couple of interesting journeys. Dupree, I think, wiping the sweat from his brow is a nice metaphor for how Astralis got here. We talked about it before, but an underperformance from them in many's eyes left them forced into the elimination match versus Tyloo, and it went all 3 maps. Yes, the fact you see Astralis banning Mirage may confuse you, but Tyloo knocked the Danes down a peg with a win on that very map. MIBR on your screens now, a team that did float through their group, undefeated to their seats. Now, we got here through a couple of interesting journeys. Dupree, I think, so far so good. A 16-11 versus HR, Hellraisers, of course, and Mouse Sports falling in 2 in their winners match best of 3 without even conceding double digits, need I add.
Well, I think Janko said it yesterday in an interview, and I really appreciate it. It feels like, or at least yesterday, it felt like MIBR went back to the winning ways. And we were in the green room watching them play, and I was telling you, this is exactly what I was looking at the demos months ago. This is how they were winning the maps. So maybe this is one of the way back to the top from them, is to remember what they were doing when they were so dominant. Would it be individually? Would it be as a team? Can it show against Astralis now?
If it ain't broke, don't try and fix it.
Well, I think you have to think of the mental struggles that these guys went with through the whole roster change dramas. They got rid of Taco, but they wanted to get rid of Bolt at the same time. They couldn't make 2 trades happen at once. They had the roster change from SK going to MIBR. There was a lot going on when these guys started to decline. It wasn't as simple as, hey, we're just not playing well. There was so much more behind the scenes. Well, maybe it was thrust to the front of the scenes, but that wasn't resolved. And we know that these guys have that winning mentality with the Brazilians, right? That's what we talk about, the resilient Brazilians. And now they've got 2 North Americans and a Serbian as a coach. It's a new face and a fresh start for a squad who, look, needs to be a top 3 team in the world for Counter-Strike to be as good as it can be.
But they go up against Astralis. Yes, undefeated, but with beaten MVP, Flash, Kinguin, Hellraisers, Mouse Sports. It's been a steady incline of competition. This, however, is a leap. This is no longer that gradual increase. You're going up against the very best in the world here, and Magisk was the most recent addition to that roster.
And it feels like the very best in the world has lost more maps in this tournament than what I remember them doing for the majority of this year. Sure, that's a bit of hyperbole right there. Sure, they've lost some games, but in one tournament, I don't remember seeing them lose so many maps to teams that they should be shellacking, should be beating around the server. But good news is that man we just saw on the screen, Device, is back. He had a good game yesterday, and with Glaive having some big performances as well, Astralis might be steadying the ship for this quarterfinal.
Maniac, how do you feel if I said that those losses, though they are much more than unexpected, but a reality check perhaps for Astralis, something they may have needed, just a bit of cold water on the face to remind you that you're not immortal?
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I think coming off a break, weirdly enough, it might have been a good thing for Astralis to run up against obstacles so early in the tournament, because it reminds them we need to play 100% if we want to win. That's nothing we are just going to go back from the break and wall on everyone like we've been doing. So this could actually be a bad timing for MIBR. No, Astralis have been checked, have been tested, I mean. They have bounced back from it. They have survived through the group stage. If they play their best now, it's going to be hard for MIBR.
I think regardless of that point, the stars are aligning for this to be a banger of a game. I think this is definitely series of the day and potentially of the tournament when you look at the way that these 2 teams are trending. And I want to touch on this head-to-head with both of these in-game leaders. Over the last couple of years, both of these players have stepped out in revolutionizing the way Counter-Strike has been played. Fallen in the terms of theory Counter-Strike and bringing the team together and doing more reactionary-based stuff within the server. And then Glaive coming in and reintroducing heavy strategical Counter-Strike, obviously with the coaching and all the other support behind him. But what these guys have done by bringing back to, tactical grenades are now a thing that we're looking at and getting all excited over. These aren't small details. These are 2 teams that can play Counter-Strike at the highest level and have changed the game over the last couple of years. That's why this matchup is so big.
It's so unbelievably, excruciatingly exciting.
The cool thing right now in Counter-Strike, if MIBR are back, right, and they play this, adaptive mid-round style, you have Astralis who are hugely strategical in counter-strategy, then you have FaZe who are just the superstars running around headshotting everything. We have 3 top teams in the world who all bring something different to the game. It's not the same level of Counter-Strike, it's something different, and that's beautiful to me because we've always throughout CS had different ebbs and flows. It's either been really heavy strat or really heavy just fraggy running around like the Fnatic and Titan days where people were just headshotting. Now we feel like we're settling into something that's brand new.
It does feel like something else. Now, not forgetting, our first map is Overpass in this series. We've seen it twice in 2018 between these rosters, or the majority of the players, I should say, and at least that was the last time they played this. They were SK. That's just a while ago, a couple of months at least. 16-10 was the first score, and 16-12 as well were the last 2 times we saw them play this, both in favor of Astralis. They've got plenty of demos to be scrubbing through, and with that said, your prediction. What are you saying, Maniac?
It is a tough one. It really is. Gonna start by saying this is a 3-map series.
Thank you.
This is the first prediction. Okay,
yep, that's one
prediction.
prediction.
Part. I'm gonna go with the heart and say MIBR. I'm gonna do it. But this is not a prediction that I can back up with rational certainty.
I get
Let's
that.
put it this way.
I'm torn as well, right? And I can understand that mentality in the sense of the MIBR resurgence is so romantic and poetic in a way that it comes to fruition here that, look, I'm going to be elated. But even though Astralis have been struggling, they've still been the best team for the last 6 months. They still have all the pieces of the puzzle worked out. Sure, they had a couple of rough games this tournament so far, and I was putting the dark cloud over them here. But to me, they're still the best team in the world, and MIBR need to step up and prove that they're back to that level of Counter-Strike to beat them. So for me, with these maps, I've seen more from Astralis. I have to stick with Astralis, and I have to back the Danes in to take this one. I think it can go 3 maps, but no, let's go 2-0. Screw it, let's go 2-0.
2-0, okay. Wow. Well, that puts me in a weird place.
If you just go with it because of Yanko,
I'm not.
You're not talking anymore.
But I will, okay, I'll go for it for an equally as ridiculous reason. I don't think I've ever predicted for the last 6 months Astralis to lose a game. So for the first time in what feels like forever, I'm going to say MIBR. I just for the novelty of the fact that this is the first time in a long time where I've genuinely had a thought in my mind that Astralis could lose this, could be eliminated, and will not be stepping onto the grand final stage. It's a possibility for what feels like the first time this year. I mean, it's crazy how strong they have been and how their path has been so consistently strong. Usually there's a couple of wobbles, a couple of trips. We haven't seen that. This could be that trip. This could be that stumble before the major.
But I think it's also a combination of, on one hand, Astralis showing rare sign of weaknesses in that tournament, and on the other hand, MIBR looking dominant again. And I know that there is no distance to that, and we are taking it very first degree.
Sure.
But if you buy into this, you can think maybe under these circumstances, this can happen.
It's happening, boys. We're really nearly there. I mean, all I need now is the Twitch chat's thoughts. We know what we're thinking. What are you guys watching at home thinking? And it does seem like the MIBR hype has fully begun.
There are lots of Brazilian fans out there, but I just want to make one point quickly before we get stuck into that game.
Make it snappy.
Even if you win the major, you're not the best team in the world. We've seen that with Cloud9 and we've seen that with Gambit. Winning the major is great, but you have to win a lot of tournaments and you need to want to win all of them. And the Masters right here, right now is a great way to start this season. So there's no shrugging it off that we were saving strats for the major. Win everything, boys. Get it done. So Astralis, I want to see you come out swinging.
Especially if you can get a step close to the Intel Grand Slam. Let's not forget that a potential extra $1 million is on the line in a quarter-final. You have to get to that grand final if you want to get a notch in your Intel Grand Slam belt. And that is here with MIBR, the chance to ruin it for Astralis. It sounds like we're getting ready, and therefore your commentators. I have no idea how excited you could be. Your hearts must be beating. Can I see the boxing, Anders? You have to get. Thank you. Yeah.
I feel so good. My hands are actually cold, and I'm not even playing the game. I'm just talking about it. But I think it's going to be an amazing game. I think this has so many implications for the rest of the year.
All right. Yeah. This is